Perspective is everything. Without the proper perspective, there's no clarity on anything. You understand? One of my joys of writing is the fact that I've traveled the world. I try to assess the position of black people globally so that when I write a book, I can basically bring some type of perspective to black people so they can better understand their position, as it relates to white marginalization, exploitation, and subjugation. I'm going to read a chapter in my latest book, A Time for Revenge, The Black Revolution. This is the voice of one of the main characters who is a former Marine, okay? And this chapter is called Black People's Position in the World. It would take a lifetime to explain the undertaking of white supremacy against the most vulnerable group of people in this world, which is people of African descent. Black people worldwide are vulnerable because the leaders of African nations have never prioritized Africa's military might in the world, technology, scientific development, and overall infrastructure. The entire continent of Africa is bullied and exploited because most African nations lack the firepower, technology, military training, and the arsenal to destroy their European and American adversaries. Still, Africa possesses the most natural resources and wealth to control the entire world. In essence, people of African descent all over the world are vulnerable to white supremacy because they have nowhere to run for protection. South Africa was strengthened militarily because of apartheid. White people ran South Africa for years, so they were allies of these white imperialists in the West. As a former Marine, I understand the confidence that the United States government has in its armed forces. We are responsible for training most of the military juntas across Africa and use them at will whenever we want to dispose of a leader in Africa that American and its racist allies don't like. The division among African leaders was solidified when the Europeans decided to meet in Berlin in 1804 to carve up Africa for their own benefit and interests. Instead of focusing on uniting the entire continent of Africa, individual puppet leaders who were placed in power by the West are coerced into becoming traitors against their own brothers and sisters, thus making it easier for the Europeans and Americans to strengthen their exploitative tactics against Africa. Black people will never be respected anywhere in the world until the African continent is strengthened militarily and offers professional and educated people of African descent the option to return to the motherland to help assist with development in all areas. Until then, black people in the diaspora will do everything in their power to adjust to their marginalization, subjugation, exploitation, and oppression in the West because most of them don't see Africa as a better option than white supremacy and the racism they've experienced. In America alone, there are millions of experienced black soldiers and higher ranked officers who can help Africa develop militarily. But those African puppets masquerading as leaders don't see them as an option. Africa has put no effort in recruiting black professionals to come back to Africa to help develop the continent. Instead, they go to the Chinese and other governments in the West where they can secure loans that can be paid to those leaders directly while risking losing the natural resources to China and the West because those loans are backed by African natural resources the rest of the world needs. Africa should not depend on the Chinese or Europeans for development. When there's so many professional black, people of African descent in every corner of the world. Africa should be the first option for all black professionals. But that is not the case because African leaders are concerned about lining up their personal pockets than making sure Africans earn decent and livable wages, have proper sanitation and health care, access to free education, and so many other variables that can make Africa a powerhouse in the world. Until all that happens, the African diaspora will continue to bend backwards to make every adjustment necessary to survive within the construct of white supremacy and white imperialism. These people in the West always unite when it's time to exploit Africa because they understand their strength in numbers. However, we can't get enough African leaders to come together to discuss the future of Africa without everyone looking for their own opportunities, self-interest, and the interests of their family and friends to exploit their own people. We're basically our own worst enemy. Y'all check it out.
Our voices have been silent too long. This is our moment to be heard. Open these pages and witness a story of truth, courage, and the power to change everything. Their foot has been on our necks for centuries. The ancestors will guide us to victory as in the Haitian Revolution. Open the book and discover how the journey unfolds.